Well, data must not fall. This is according to the Free Market Foundation. The foundation says evidence shows that South African data prices are not among the highest in the world, as suggested by the Data Must Fall movement. The Free Market Foundation says the Data Must Fall movement, calling for lower mobile data prices, has largely gone unchallenged, saying the debate needs to be less one-sided. Data produced by the International Telecoms Union suggests that data prices in South Africa are average compared to the rest of the world and far from being the most expensive, but also far from being the cheapest. Now, the debate around the cost of data in the country continues to take centre stage. The Data Must Fall movement argues that South Africa has some of the highest data and airtime costs in the world, while the Free Market Foundation argues that data prices in the country are average compared to the rest of the world. Now, according to Data Must Fall, service providers rip off people who can barely afford food. But the Free Market Foundation says basic data pricing in South Africa is favourable with international standards for low usage. Answering to the question of who should be blamed for the high internet costs in South Africa, the FMF says if anybody should be criticised over high prices, it's the government.
Two main people behind it, Thibaut Touch and Gareth Cliff, do acknowledge that the 5-country or 4-country comparison that's been doing the rounds and become accepted as if it's truth is in fact wrong and mistaken. It says, for example, the cost of data in India is 11 Rand for 150 Rand in South Africa. You don't actually have to know anything about it to know that that's implausible. It's very improbable that that is true. In South Africa, for example, specials are not considered, and that particular price is a launch special of a new company in India. The average price in India is much higher. But the biggest source of information is the International Telecommunications Union and Google, which have both done very extensive studies on data costs around the world. The ITU looks at not a gig, but half a gig. And in that, it divides all the world's countries into 5 groups, quartiles, from the cheapest to the most expensive. We are in the second bottom quartile, in other words, the second cheapest group of countries in the world.
When we compare African countries where they'll say, for example, as you're saying that in Nigeria it'll be 22 Rand for a gig of data, you must also consider that when they say it's 22 Rand, does it cover the whole of South Africa? Are there parts which are actually in a black hole where people don't even get 2G, or are they getting 4G? In our country, we do actually have a very good infrastructure built across the whole country, right, which offers 3G, 4G, and obviously in cases you're getting 2G. So we do actually have a decent infrastructure, and we do actually want to build up on it. So some of the reasons or some of the things that can be done, I think, which we'll touch on going forward, is we need to look at our regulators really specifically and ask them the question as into why do we have problems with spectrum?